Hello, everybody. Tonight we are going to learn about the original 13 British colonies. I'm going to give you a little intro lecture, and then tomorrow we will work with this information on projects focusing on colonial regions. The first successful British colony in North America is Jamestown. It's established in 1607 by the Virginia Company. Now, it is not the first British colony. The first British colony is Roanoke, but that's a failure. Pretty much everybody dies or is absorbed into native communities. But the first successful British colony is Jamestown, and it is established by the Virginia Company. The Virginia Company is a joint stock company whose stockholders are looking to strike it rich in the Americas. Now, even though it is the first permanent British settlement, even though it is the first successful British settlement, this does not mean that the early Jamestown colonists did not have their own share of problems. First problem, they established Jamestown in a very swampy area of Virginia, which meant that malaria killed many, many early colonists. Second, improper water management meant that dysentery was very commonplace, also killing many, many early inhabitants. As proof of these problems, this is the skull of Jane. Now, who is Jane? Jane is someone who lived in Jamestown. Her name wasn't actually Jane. That's why Jane is in parentheses or in quotations. Um, and her skull provides evidence of cannibalism. Historians, or I should say archaeologists, assert that it is probable that this poor woman's end was the result of hunger in Jamestown. Now, further evidence of problems in Jamestown. By 1624, the 6,000 British subjects who moved to Virginia, of the 6,000, only 2,000 remained alive. Things are not going well, and the Virginia Company is upset. They want profit. Enter tobacco. Tobacco is an American crop. It is a plant that when processed, turns into a highly addictive drug and therefore a very profitable commodity. Here are some advertisements showing the profitability of tobacco in the time period. Now, let's talk about two figures you probably know about, John Smith and Pocahontas. I'm sure you've heard the story of Pocahontas. This story, although probably not true, is reflective of the emerging conflict between British colonists and Native Americans. Now, the local Native group are called the Powhatan. That's a mislabel. They actually refer to themselves as something else. The leader's name was Powhatan, and so the colonists just kind of called the whole group the Powhatan. Now, at first, the relationship between the Jamestown colonists and the Powhatan is a good relationship. They trade with each other. There is little violence. However, tobacco requires land. And so as the Jamestown colonists get wealthier and wealthier in growing tobacco, this means they need more and more land. Their plantations spread into Powhatan territory, and this causes conflict. Now, this is where the story of Pocahontas comes into play. According to this story, the conflict between the Powhatan and the Jamestown colonists got so bad that Powhatan was going to murder John Smith, the leader of the Jamestown colony. Again, according to the story, Pocahontas stops him by flinging her body in between John Smith and Powhatan, and begging her father not to kill him. Now, this story is probably not true, but it is reflective of the fact that tensions are high between the Jamestown colonists and the Powhatan. Proof of this is the Powhatan Uprising of 1622, in which the Powhatan rebel or go to war with the Jamestown colonists, killing about 300 of the 1,200 settlers. Now, Pocahontas is a real person, and while she doesn't actually fall in love with John Smith, she does fall in love with another guy named James Rolfe. And they go back to England. And the picture we see of Pocahontas here is of her in England, where she created quite a stir and became sort of an interesting figure for the British.